Beautiful Friday morning, everybody. This is Midnight Brands coming to you with prep for April 28th, 2023. Beautiful morning so far. Not a whole lot overnight from the looks of it. Faded off a little bit off of that Amazon big spike and then pull back after hours on its earnings. I guess we did pull back a little bit there on ES. NQ, I mean, relatively, like it moved a little bit overnight, but nothing of any big significance. We have a decent number of things here still coming up today. I'll go ahead and flip over the screen. Don't have my usual screenshot, so headed over to TradingView, not sponsored or affiliated with them at all, but just pulling up and looking at their calendar for the day. So we've got employment costs, and the big pieces will be the PCE and personal income stuff coming up here later today. So those should be, if memory serves, since it doesn't say on here. I don't know why people love this, since it can't even tell you the basic kind of crap. But these are generally at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. There it is, 7:30. Okay. Then we also have Chicago PMI and Michigan Consumer Sentiment here later this morning at 9 Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. So those also tend to pretty big in terms of what and how things play out. And then if you're nat gas whatnot, so that's this afternoon at noon. So we'll go ahead and get into it. I might be missing the cues, so if I get to that, we'll see and add them in. I think I might have actually just missed the cues here today, and we may just skip them all together. In any event, with SVXY, just kind of starting off with there as usual. Let's take a look at where it's at right this second. So 67.54, basically unchanged from yesterday. And so just start at the top, really major big size zone up there. Again, we added the weekly trend guide reversal, which you've got your full ADRs, quarterly, monthly. It's just a massive zone. It also is buried in there is the tier 1 daily cheat. And then underneath, you've got structure at that 68.50. You can just kind of see the wicks in there at that spot there. Go ahead and zoom in there a little bit. You can see those kind of just set up in there. And you've got the photo ADRs, which again, it looks like we're going to open up pretty much unchanged, which will still keep photo ADRs there. And then beneath that, trend guide reversal with gap fill. Didn't mark this WPP trend strength reference point. It's there. It's so in the middle of where this stuff traded and stuff yesterday. I mean, you can keep an eye out and see what is this swing AVWAP from the 26th at 2:30 do. It's just type of set to me. So further down below, you've got that trend guide and weekly trend guide right there with that structure. Photo ADRs is right there, so you could include that in this div right there. But can't believe we take this out. I mean, sure, watch for the tier 1 daily cheat, the swing anchor VWAP there. But then you're going to have the bigger piece below at AR1 weekly trend guide gap fill full ADRs. And then we added this here with the weekly trend guide 3, swing AV WAP, and gap fill there. On the VIX side, we're about 1740, give or take. So moved up a little bit, right around trend strength reference point there at the moment. We start up at the highs, so you've got your 50-day EMA, weekly trend guide, supply and demand, and your tier 3 daily cheat. So we added that one. As you can see, and we noted the other day, like we bounced off of it twice earlier this week already. So what do we do? Do we maybe just come up only and get to the 20-day today? I have no idea, obviously, but we added that as a zone to keep an eye out on. I guess we could have added this as a div here with full ADRs and gap fill. Obviously didn't know where things were going to end up, so full ADRs, we do open up higher at 30-40 cents. Is going to push this from the 1870 up to about 1910, which would still put it out in the middle of nowhere, not quite as close to that full ADR and gap fill there. In any event, right underneath it, you've got this one that we've combined. So weekly trend guide, high edge supply and demand, auto supply and demand, that is. Tier 2 daily cheat, and then also merged in the div with the 20-day EMA, March's lows, and the Tier 1 end of week cheat, which we obviously shot through. So maybe we come up and test it again and then fade back. Could be interesting here with PCE data and whatnot later this morning. Under Tier 1 daily trend guide, weekly trend guide. Again, we're getting close to tagging that now. Down here below, we added this gap fill weekly pivot. We were, no real wicks underneath kind of where we drew the box there. And so interesting that we came all the way back down and then we're just kind of afraid to go and touch that weekly pivot. Okay, sorry, just listen to the news report there. Nothing of any significance, just about TSM and something about maintaining a chip and getting some contract or something. Not like a contract, but just securing some materials, whatnot. Anyways, trend guide reversal this week's lows, because this was the prior week. So this is kind of where this week's lows has been. Way further below, you end up with supply and demand and weekly trend guide reversal. Moving on to SPY, call it, we're just going to round up and call it 411. So definitely faded, it had got a good pop after that Amazon earnings, and then it gave, it gave all of it back plus some. So it's going to open up just above trend strength reference point if it were to open right this minute, I would say, or should say. And so we added these actually here based upon kind of where things were trading last night when we captured this one. So we added, I'm going to start here in the middle, weekly pivot, yesterday's high, this trend line, like we poked above, but we couldn't get a close above it. So we're keeping that for today and noting that, as well as the trend strength reference point. And there's been like some structure through here if you look. At least in my eyes there is. Anywho, moving below that, you've got weekly trend guide, last week's lows and March's highs. Right there, there's also the swing anchored VWAP coming in from April 26th at 3 p.m. at that low the other day. And then beneath, daily trend guides, 20-day EMA, photo ADRs, and the Tier 1 daily cheat. With weekly trend guide 2 below, full ADRs, will move around. At the moment, it looks like they're going to move down and probably get closer to the Tier 1 end of week cheat, along with supply and demand. We'll have to see exactly where and how things open. And to that point, we actually added this zone here. So we added structure, gap fill, 50-day EMA, weekly trend guide 3, annual pivot point. Swing AVWAP is going to come up and join that. Looks like there's also the tier, not 1, but tier 2 daily cheat there. And the daily anchored VWAP is actually much lower. It looks like right around 400. So it's going to be down around here, closer to MPP and stuff. But that would be like silly, massive type of move. Anyway, moving to the upside, so we can crack this trend line, then we got some open space here from the 412-ish area up until we get to this gap fill, daily trend guide, supply and demand, weekly trend guide reversal. You can see, going back here, we didn't even get a bar close above this supply and demand here. Clear that, you got your photo ADRs and your, looks like tier 1 daily cheats. And really, it just starts getting to open space. I'd almost treat this more as a div and probably keep an eye out up here. This would actually be a pretty good sized move. Be lined up with yesterday's ADRs if we open back up around that 412.40-ish. So you have your full ADRs and weekly trend guide reversal too. Just because we're so close to it at that point, maybe there's a kind of a blow off like this one here, and so maybe we extend up further and go close that very old gap fill around 419.96, get everybody excited for 420, close out the month, and fail right off of monthly trend guide reversal, structure, gap fill, etc. All right, Qs, moving on to get those in here. Awesome. Pretty clean on the Qs here in my mind here today. So, and the Qs at the moment are at right around 319.50. So pretty unchanged when we did our screen grab last night. And so on the upside, weekly trend guide reversal, supply and demand high, photo ADRs. You could drag that down a little bit and grab the tier 1 end of week cheat. But that's totally up to you and how you want to run that. Underneath, you have supply and demand, gap fill, and your daily trend guide reversal. It originally didn't include supply and demand, as you can see there on the right, but we went ahead and included that in there. Underneath, weekly trend guide reversal, last week's highs, and then we included up the structure piece, especially if you see this here, right? Like that. That's a pretty good line right there from the other week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. The way we blew right through trend strength did not include that, but we did note here, and I guess you could have dragged this up a little bit, or potentially taken it as 2 zones and gone weekly pivot, swing AV WAP, top edge supply and demand, and then daily trend guide with photo ADRs. Didn't do that. We'll keep an eye on that and see what and how we interact, especially with that swing VWAP there, which is an hourly swing anchored VWAP. Excuse me. And just ignored this area here. I mean, there is some structure there, kind of. It's photo ADRs, but I just don't have as much stock in it as I do this full ADRs, 20-day EMA. It's also, I guess, the 200-week SMA, supply and demand low. So then we also added here, and I messed this up too. It looks like this is not weekly trend guide 1, daily cheat 1. This is tier 2 daily cheat there. We failed that. I mean, I guess you could include the gap fill here from this day. That would put it a little over $1 plus on that side there, so I guess that's part of what gave me the pause there. This swing AV WAP though is one I would want to keep an eye on. You can see we held over here the other day, right around that 311-ish 08 area, so maybe we actually come up and join into that gap fill, which would be a nice kind of clue to tag that again. 50 days still going to be moving slow. I think that would be a massive move if we decided to trade $11. But anyway, we're going to move on to ES here. Lot of zones because we finally expanded the range there a little bit yesterday. What was it, like 80 some points, I think? Yeah, 86, call it 86 points here yesterday. So noted zone outside of full ADRs. Picked up a couple extras on the lower edge. We actually filled, so you don't see on here for this one, you don't see the weekly or, yeah, the weekly full or photo ADRs, and that's because we tagged both sides, and so I just said, let's take them off. We've exceeded those. It's kind of like the daily ADRs. Once you hit them, okay, cool, you've fulfilled that expectation, and it's just not really a piece of evidence anymore. So with that, we'll start at the first upside zone that I've noted, and that is the monthly trend guide reversal, weekly trend guide, combo high value area, and that says tier 1 daily cheat. It also has in there, I dragged it down a little bit to include supply and demand. So basically, wider zone for sure, but dragged it down to also pick up the gap fill and supply and demand high. And then underneath there, we have our weekly trend guide reversal 2, the tier 1 end of week cheat, supply and demand low, and full ADRs. That would be a really good size move for the day. That'd be another kind of back-to-back elevated ADR. We've already traded 25-ish points, 24 points. And so that'd be 90-ish points, I guess. 85, 90-ish points again. So definitely be full elevated ADRs, obviously. And it depends. We've actually traded down a little bit from when I took this picture, I think. No, it looks like we're basically unchanged. Okay, so tons of open space here. There was the weekly IB stat high from last week is up here around the 4193, 4192-ish area. Did not include this because this was already a pretty big zone with supply and demand, trend guide reversal on the weekly, a naked VA, photo ADR, gap fill, daily trend guide reversal. And so it didn't want to drag it up higher there. You know, potentially get a spike, fail, close off of that, maybe bounce back to something like surf, and then we come up here and test off of that level. No idea. I just have to watch and see if we have any interaction off of that at all. Again, that would have been the weekly IB stat, and then we kept pushing. Okay, so let's see what else we got in here. So we just talked about that zone. Underneath, you've got our weekly pivot, gap fill. This week's high is also yesterday's high, but you can see it was also the high earlier in the week. It's supply and demand high. There's also a naked VA in there as well. Moving down lower here, we mark this as inside, so you've got swing anchor VWAP in there, your point of control, and supply and demand low. Underneath, we broke this into two zones. They're super close together. I get that. But it's kind of a, okay, well, we haven't closed beneath this trend. You know, like we dipped down and tagged that swing anchor VWAP, but like from an hourly close basis, like we haven't, it felt like we needed to look at it and mark that off. Just kind of seeing how things have traded through here, as opposed to treating this as one big zone. So to that point, ended up carving this one up separate. And so down below you have the swing anchor VWAP, like I just mentioned, also trend guide, weekly trend guide, and supply and demand with 20-day EMA in there. Under that, a little ways under, closer to that, getting closer to the 4100 level is your daily trend guide and weekly trend guide too. I guess you could also break them up too and treat it as two zones if you wanted. Treat yesterday's IB stat high with daily trend guide, naked VA, supply and demand, and then track your photo ADR weekly trend guide 2 with that 4100 centennial mark there. Potentially even drag it down a little bit lower to grab yesterday's IB stat low. Up to you and how you want to treat that one. I've marked it as one zone, and I'm kind of ignoring the high value node there and the weekly IB stat low, and kind of, okay, if we fail this, then we're going to come back down, tag the 50, grab the tier 1 cheat, the NV POX, wing anchored VWAP, what's that, weekly trend guide 3, full ADR. So kind of looking at that, you know, the other piece I would note, and I talked about this the other day, is if we want to keep these weekly trend guides, and it's been this way for a month, or, yeah, for 4 weeks now, is we need to close above this weekly trend guide once. We need to stay above that 4130-ish level to keep our weekly trend guides, where S1 is WTG and R1 is weekly trend guide reversal. All right, the other one that I'll note here, and we talked about this yesterday, is kind of a big zone, is you get your annual pivot, your quarterly pivot, your low daily and weekly anchor VWAP, as well as gap fill from April 29th. So that would be giving up a lot and really break a lot of people's hearts to come back and trade into that area there. And then I'm going to skip this bottom one here. I didn't even draw an arrow to it, you can see, but you know, if PC or something else comes, or sentiment comes in horrible, then did note, you know, so we decided to get all this stuff up and trace back through the full ADRs, you know, expecting kind of a bigger liquidation, you know, potentially come in and tag that MPP and VPOC and weekly trend guide along with supply and demand. There's the naked VA right there, so potentially dip into that. But this is getting into your tier 2 end of week cheat here, so it's possible, but I don't expect that. Just the way we acted yesterday off the jobless claims and stuff, like I don't know. Yesterday was all about worrying and watching for the downside. I took some upside moves, gave them up way too soon, but it just feels like the way we traded this yesterday that the bigger pain is to the upside right now. Just comes across and feels that way looking at sentiment and everything else. Okay, so NQ, a little bit messy here in my mind. Skip some of these way far upside zones. We've already traded on NQ about 60-ish points. So the far upside stopped at the full ADRs there. So you get weekly trend guide reversal 3, supply and demand. Naked VA tier 3. No, tier 2 daily cheat. NVPOC, and then structure at that 13,523-ish level. It obviously was not anywhere near that size, but we dragged it down to encompass kind of those two bigger pieces there. So definitely a wider zone. Could break it up and treat it as a div, and then the full ones. But a lot of times those tier 2 end up having somewhat of a good size reaction. And there's also that NVPOC right there with the structure at the 13,523. So didn't want to undersell it by just calling it a div. Underneath, tons of open space until we break down, or until we get to weekly trend guide reversal 2, supply and demand there. Underneath, there's the photo ADRs. That's where you have your tier 1 end of week cheat, so we dragged that up and grabbed this. So tier 1 end of week cheat, tier 1 daily cheats, combo high value area. This one we broke up into 2 blocks. It just was way too wide for how we wanted to look at this. I mean, it was 60-ish. Yeah, that's just too wide. So broke that up, trend guide reversal by itself. Obviously yesterday's highs. Underneath there, we have the separate one. Combo high volume node. You can also see there's a little bit of stuff through there. Didn't get the close above there, just kind of big spike, blow up, and pull back with the Amazon earnings. Underneath, we do have this NVPOC and gap fill from yesterday. I don't put as much emphasis on those versus one that's, you know, super old up here. So we also have, so skipping that, and then we get into trend strength reference point there, combo high volume node, which is the highest high volume node that's away from the point of control. Ignoring that tier 1 daily cheat there. So you can see I dragged this up, so it didn't quite come all the way down here, but did include the weekly pivot as something by itself, and it was also, what's that, Monday's highs, so weekly IV stat high WPP. Underneath, combo point of control and naked VA, which is only from yesterday, and then daily trend guide. And I think I said combo point of control, but if not, combo point of control. If you don't know what I mean by the combo point of control stuff, it's something I've started tracking and paying attention to. I tweeted about it this past weekend. You can go and see some of the visuals for it. Underneath, photo ADRs, 20-day tier 2 daily cheat, combo high volume node. It was also yesterday's by chance. It also was yesterday's IV stat low. And then below you can kind of see the rest of these, pretty straightforward. There isn't hidden, looks like NVPOC right in here. at that combo high volume node there. So it's right there. There's a naked VA as well, but it's really the bigger piece is weekly trend guide. There is the 200 week SMA in there, so something else I guess to keep an eye out on. Further below though, you're gonna have the March 13th swing anchored VWAP. I'm pretty sure the daily anchored VWAP. Looks like we track it on March 10th. It's right around a 12,850-ish level. So it's going to be down lower, probably, yeah, it's going to be, the daily anchor VWAP is going to be closer to the full ADRs here, which you can see low daily anchor VWAP, March 10th, gap fill, etc. Right at that spot there. That's interesting. I'm going to have to take a look at that. Oh, because I separated out those two and treated them differently. Okay, got it. In any event, moving down below, the bigger piece here, monthly pivot, weekly trend guide 2, 50-day EMA, lower edge, weekly anchor VWAP. And you got double gap fill right there. RTY, YM, going to probably go through fairly quickly here. So pretty clean upside zones as potentials. You can see a couple of different divs in here with two different zones there. It hardly traded anything in comparison yesterday. It was still in that, very small, 30, 30, 30. So it didn't even get above into the upper side of ADRs yesterday. It was still at that 30-ish level. So pretty small on those. We did add this naked VA, gap fill, NVPOX, supply and demand, weekly trend guide reversal 2. So in here, which you can see was also kind of the highs yesterday. It also turns out that it is the tier 1 end of week cheat on the lower edge side. On the zones to the lows, we have kind of these three basic ones here. So not a whole lot to add on those. We did add in here. So this zone was here. We dragged it down to incorporate the tier 2 end of week cheat and the NVPOC, which is quite old, looking back on the chart there. And then if we decided to really pull and go through all these things, then added this naked VA, tier 3 daily cheat, supply and demand, monthly trend guide reversal, weekly trend guide reversal 5. That'd be really major. Definitely be a blow to people's hopes for YM or RTY. YM also kind of clean-ish zones. You can argue that, in fact, this swing AV WAP is trash at this point, given kind of how much is shot over there. Daily is still good, but that swing is trash. You can ignore that one. Note the first piece kind of here in the middle that we've been trying to hold overnight. It's trend strength, weekly trend guide. Looks like you also have a swing anchor VWAP from yesterday at 9 a.m. So it'd be probably right off of that one there, that candle with IB stat low. Some decent zone there. Didn't mark this. It is there. It's yesterday's gap fill with combo point of control. Would be a lower high against obviously the stuff from yesterday. And then you have your weekly pivot and weekly pivot, gap fill, combo high volume node right there. And supply and demand low. And above you get a div until you get to this bigger level here, which is a really good size zone, right? Photo ADRs, trend guide reversal, tier 1 daily cheat. Yeah, like I said, gap fill and VPOC, make a VA up there, and then a couple of good sized pivots with monthly and weekly. Below, you could have treated this as a div here with 20-day and swing anchored VWAP there. Probably note that on the charts after I get done with this. But below, we've got our daily trend guide, weekly trend guide, NVPOC from just, looks like yesterday. That's odd. I didn't realize NVPOC was so low yesterday. Swing anchored VWAP. Yeah. And then the bigger piece down below is the 50-day that we can see that we held really, really nicely on Wednesday, and then obviously yesterday was really, really big hold of it after that big kind of liquidation on Wednesday. But you got this zone here with the gap fill from that day, full ADRs, trend guide 3. And if we decide to fail all that stuff, then you've got this quarterly pivot, weekly trend guide, daily anchor VWAP, tier 3 daily cheat, supply and demand low, way down here. I'm going to go back to NQ real quick. One piece that I didn't mention was just notice this. This goes back to crap. I forget now. Kind of those March highs, I think it was. Let me just pull that up on the screen here. Over off on my other one for a second. Yeah, so that trend line goes back to beginning of April. April's highs there. April 4th, and it was really interesting yesterday. It's like we came right up to it, tagged it, and then obviously we had the after hours earnings spike, but we stopped right there. So definitely puts a little bit more weight into that trend guide reversal to me. I almost forgot to mention that. Anywho, actually, let's look at CL first. Finally trying to bounce there a little bit. I think, yeah, it traded a whopping $1.25 yesterday, so it's finally putting in some good size ADR stuff here so far this morning. In fact, I was a little surprised when I came in and I heard it starting to beep at me already saying photo ADRs. I'm like, oh, what the hell's hitting photo ADRs already? In any event, so it is now up to 75, so it's been flirting with that trend guide, weekly trend guide reversal, naked VA stuff right there in this first zone. Also got a little bit of structure there historically at that 75, 72-ish level. Above that, you got your full ADRs, NV-POC, so we added this zone here. So full ADR, swing anchor VWAP, tier 1 daily cheat, and NV-POC, like I've already said. Above, you can drag this down, I guess, to include the 50-day. I kept it up here just because you've got the naked VA, you also have the 20-day and the tier 2 daily cheat, but obviously the 50-day could be a first rejection point if we decide to trade up to that 77 and reject potentially right at that naked VA and this candle and structure and stuff here. So keep an eye on that. Really the last thing, the upside there that we noted, I mean, obviously it could keep going and go tag those tier 3 swing anchor VWAPs, any number of possible things in the upside there. This trend strength, I just sliced right through and sliced right back, so you know, potentially now that we've come up and tagged trend guide, maybe we come back and test this. There's a swing anchored VWAP going to be in there now from the lows, and so maybe we come back, close this gap fill, and kind of push back up from there. Have to see, but below that we have the quarterly pivot trend guide reversal we played with all day yesterday until we decide to, if we decide to potentially fail that, go down and tag MPP, daily cheat, naked VA, or go even further and grab that older gap fill full ADRs, weekly full ADRs in this case too, as well as that trend guide reversal too. So that's it on the downside. We didn't go any deeper than that. Certainly if we fail this, it you know, that's gonna be pretty big. Obviously the other part is we had been trading in this range box for quite a while, so we got that, and of course if we do fail this, then you know, I'm sure there's some more pieces down there, but that's as far as we went. Okay, GC, I turned that off for a second. So GC noted a couple upside zones here. Got the div first, combo, high volume node, tier 1 into week cheat. Also have a naked VA there. Underneath, weekly trend guide reversal, naked VA, full ADRs. Where is GC trading right now too? Let's see. So 1992 and change. So basically in change. Came up and just tick for tick the VWAP. So it's really just kind of trading in the middle of nowhere here. Has been trying to hold this trend line here. You know, didn't get any hourly closes below it. It's got one there, kind of, but not enough for me to quite remove it yet. Anyways, I digress. I skipped some of these upside zones, so you could include this. I just candidly got lazy and didn't drag that up to include the photo ADRs. Also wasn't sure if it was going to keep sliding down or whatnot, so but you have the photo ADRs really right there with the tier 1 daily cheat and trend guide reversal. Between the combo point of control, supply demand high, there is an NVPOC, but you have this swing anchored VWAP. Daily anchored VWAP is going to be just a touch higher than that. Under skipped, I guess, the weekly pivot point and just noted the trend strength, 20-day supply and demand low on that one, and then obviously there's the gap fill right there that should get picked up and included with that. And then space, it's really kind of wide open space, so you get to that swing and daily anchor VWAP down here near the trend guide, tier 1 daily cheat, naked VA, and combo high volume node. It was interesting, as you can see here, like it just came down, bounced right against it. This was not in real-time hours when we had this move, but it's interesting just kind of how it came down, tagged it along with the swing anchored VWAP from March 13th and reversed, then higher low, but again tagged that swing anchored VWAP. So maybe we don't even get to this trend guide. Maybe we just come down, tag this March 13th, and then move back up off of it. We'll just have to see. Kind of feels like it's going to be more of a sideways action inside of this pennant. Yep, I don't know there's a whole lot else. A big piece that I'd be watching and would really like is if we do decide to trade down on gold is coming into this look zone here. So tier 1 end of week cheat, 50-day MA, daily anchor VWAP, naked VA. So like this would be the ideal one. It would candidly be one at this point that I'd want to see earlier in the day. If we go down and tag that at 12:30, 1 o'clock, I don't know I would do much with it. It's too late in the day to get a big reaction. Just with watching gold volumes and stuff over the last few weeks, or just the later in the day we get towards the pit close on it, the real-time hours for it, I just don't see the same reaction if you get some kind of a big move like that. So that is it, folks. I don't have anything else to add at this point, I don't think. I don't see any questions. So hopefully everybody's had a good one. Hopefully that was helpful and informative. And like I said in the post the other night, we'll try to get back to some of our regular Substack posts with some other commentary and whatnot here in the next week or so. So hopefully everybody has a great one, and we will catch y'all later.